Hello friends and welcome to Long Beach, Washington. I'm here for the Washington State International Kite Festival, or WSKF as many of you know it, and I've finally made it to the World Kite Museum. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I'm glad you're here.
Hi, welcome to the World Kite Museum.
Hello. The first thing you see when you walk in is their gift shop area. There's a lot of kites in here for sale and some literature as well. I see some American Kite Flyers Association things here. $6 for adults, $5 for seniors, and only $4 for the young ones to come in. I am really looking forward to seeing what is in this museum. I'm not 60 plus yet, so I'll have to pay.
So it'll be $6
Okay.
unless you're military or staying at the World Mart.
No.
Okay. The museum is really amazing. It's the entire second floor. We've got kites up there from Indonesia, China, Japan, and the U.S. We also have an exhibit from the Smithsonian that tells about kiting and aviation.
I love this already. Surrounded by all these kites. People are walking in from the festival and everyone's anxious to see what's in here, including myself. So some ground displays and kiting facts and history here. There's a good description of the size of some of these kites. The Garber target kite. Some of you might have seen this at different places on display. There's one at the Smithsonian. We had one on display at the Studio 620 show, but that is a very historical kite. Maybe there's one here. We have some other historical facts about kiting along the wall. Some say that Benjamin Franklin is the most famous kiter in history. He probably is. But some also say that he didn't actually fly a kite and get struck by lightning because he'd probably be dead. And is that possible? Who knows? Somebody does. Anyway, the point of it is that he may not have done what he said he did, but that's okay. He's still a famous kite flyer and gives it a good name. Very neat. We have a video playing here on display at the World Kite Museum. Very nice work. All along the walls here in the movie room are posters from all of the Washington State International Kite Festivals over the years. I like this one from 1991. Local lighthouse here. I love these kite images. Looks like this is the first one. It's the 6th annual. I don't see any for the 5th or below. But the artwork continues. This year is the 41st year of the Washington State International Kite Festival. I'm looking forward to seeing what the artwork is for this year. Some of you might know I love stamps. I especially love kite stamps. I have a small collection of those, but here is a really nice collection of kite stamps from around the world. Wow. Oh, a Disney stamp. Of course, there's a Disney kite stamp. Why wouldn't there be? For those of you that might be wondering, we are right up here, like way up in here. Way up there, past Portland. Here we have the Founders Corner, Kay and Jim Busing, and a couple of awards here. We have the World Kite Museum Recognition Award and the Robert Ingram Award from 2013. It's a very honorable award. It's a bookcase with books and kite stuff. A lot of you probably have some of these kite books in your collection. Some classics here, for sure. Look at that tiny, tiny kite. Okay, it's time to go upstairs, but we walk through the World Kite Museum Hall of Fame to do that. So let's check out some of the names in the Hall of Fame. Here we have 1991's inductees Peter Land and Paul Garber. We have many other famous kiter names and some friends I see. There's Scott Skinner, 1996 inductee. Lots of names. Alexander Graham Bell, Robert Ingram, of course, Benjamin Franklin, William Eddy, all of the names you think of when you think of kites. I've known most every single one of the names on this wall over the years, and I've spent it kiting. But some of them are new to me, and it's nice to connect the faces with the names that I've heard for so long. Like Peter Powell. I never knew what he looked like. Never knew what Modegi looked like either. Charlie Brown. I did know what he looks like. Oh. Marconi, the inventor of the radio, used a kite to get the antenna in the air. Definitely deserves to be on this wall. Now the museum. We have the main room of the museum and the war room as well. Let's start in the war room, see what that's about. The Arctic mail kite. These kites were flown off of ships, and airplanes would come by and snatch bags of mail or other documents that needed to be transported to wherever they needed to go. And apparently they were used in the Arctic for that same purpose, to deliver mail. So here they are. Had no idea that this existed. The Conine kite. Silas Conine, 1902 invented this. It's a heavy lifter, very useful. These kites were useful in other military applications as well. And they were pretty popular in the kite flying field from time to time. I'll see one, but they were more popular back in the day, I'm sure. This looks like the original real deal. If you watch my other channel, Dre's World, you might have seen a visit that I had recently to the Deerfield Village, where I saw Alexander Graham Bell's laboratory. In there I learned that he tried to make an invention every single week. Part of that time he spent was making kites. And I knew that, but I never really knew much about the kites that he made. He made this type of kite, as a tetrahedral. The largest one that he made was 3,393 of these tetrahedrals put together. It lifted a man. That's a lot of power. His version was made of silk. This is ripstop nylon, but it's a good example of what the design looked like. And here's a picture of that very kite. Here's some more pictures of Alexander Graham Bell and his kite inventions. I'm liking that guy more and more. Here is that Gerber target kite that we saw an image of downstairs. And there it is in action. Most of us just use two lines and small cloth handles, but military, they did not do that. They used a serious winder and handle system here. This is definitely an original. I was very fortunate to open one that had never been opened before, and I got to see what a brand new one would have looked like. It's very nice. But the material is not what you think. It's like this, like a silky nylon. It's not ripstop, but it's not canvas or cotton either. It's just some, someone would know. Leave a comment below if you know what that fabric is. But this is a really cool kite. Now, kites were used in all kinds of military applications, but this is something I didn't know about. The Gibson Girl kite. It was just a box kite. It was used as an antenna for the Gibson Girl radio. It's called that because of the shape. You might be able to tell why. But this was an emergency kit that came with a raft as well. So if you're abandoned at sea, well, you can fly your kite as the antenna and get some radio signals and hopefully have your life saved. If you had the wherewithal to tell how fast the wind was, you have this easy to read directions printed right on the sail to tell you where to attach the flying line. You see, it's all aluminum. You can fly it, I should say. This large kite behind me is a barrage kite. I think I'm saying the name right. A barrage kite was used by the military to pull a line up that was strong enough to shear the wings off of airplanes. So it would just hang out up in the air. Hopefully an enemy plane would fly right into the line and boom, no more flying for that plane. They used 2,000 foot long piano wire. That's all that they needed to shear the wings off of those planes. And it was just to protect those unarmed ships that were crossing the Atlantic. Samuel Franklin Cody. He was the guy that invented this. Sounds like a stately name, huh? Well, he and his son moved to England. They started making kites, and he made this Hargreaves type kite, and it took him places. Took him up in the air. That's where it took him. This winged version of a double Hargreaves box kite didn't just take him in the air. The British Meteorological Society used this kite to lift weather equipment 14,000 feet in the air. It's a very useful, strong kite. These kites are very interesting to me, but it's time to check out the rest of the kites. Let's get out of the war room. A lot of the kites in here are not labeled as to who made them or what the exact type is. This is a box kite. It would be considered a box kite or a cellular kite behind me, but it doesn't say who made the kite. It is beautiful. I would love to see it flying with the blue sky backdrop. It's another box kite showing how simple it is for you to make one. Just dowel rods and newspaper. Some of my favorite styles of kites are Asian kites, especially Japanese. I see some of these old fighters and this giant rokaku. I really like crane kites. It's a nice one. Did you know the Japanese had the first word for kite? Shin? Paper hawk? Some very nice paper hawks here. The reason I like this Japanese imagery is because it tells a story. You know, a lot of these are very important stories to the culture, and each of these images are important. This is Kabuki, whose character ended in tragedy. It's not just any old guy on this. This is a well-known image in the culture. This is Goemon. He was a ninja thief, and he was boiled to death. Of course, these are all traditional stories, but I like the way that it's told through kiting. This is an image of Kintaro. He was a famous Japanese character, kind to animals, became a samurai, and you can see his image many times floating upstream on the back of a carp. I also like these Indonesian birds of prey. These can be very detailed, but most are simple, like this with just images painted on them. Commonly made with silk and bamboo. Well, these three kites are very special, I just found out. The same guy that animated the Bambi movies made these kites. He was a kite enthusiast. Tyrus Wong. Here's a picture of Tyrus hanging out on the beach, flying his kites. Nothing too fancy about these. This is just ripstop nylon and bamboo and tape and glue. And some, looks like marker on there to decorate it. Just a little paint, but very creative with simple things, and now it's hanging in a museum. You too can do this yourself. This kite was created by Robert Trepanner. I believe it is the same Robert Trepanner that was a Canadian artist, died a few years ago. They say you can tell by the eyes. It's a very large bird of prey. Sometime back in the 80s, this horse kite, believe it or not, this is an actual flying kite. It took flight right here on this beach. No one knows who made it or who flew it, but it was given to the museum back when the museum was in a different location, so it's been around for a while. I call it the mystery horse. No one knows anything about it. I can't believe it flew, but I'll take their word for it. It's very heavy. This kind of kite's not going to fly on its own. You can't just put a line to it and send it in the air. It needs a lifter kite to pull it up there. But this would be a really interesting thing to see flying on the beach, wouldn't it? Here is a leaf kite. This was sewn with all natural ingredients, leaves and sticks. That's all it is. This hummer's handmade as well, from natural stuff. Makes noise when it flies. Nice tail. Now friends, some of you out there might be down on your luck, and I have just the solution for you. An insect kite, that's what you need. They bring you good luck. All you need is one of these critters. You can fly it around and change your luck. I don't think this is considered an insect kite, but what a neat kite. Never seen one quite like that. Now, believe it or not, these three kites I have seen before. I believe that we have had these hanging on a wall in the kite shop, Kite Man Productions, a long time ago. Although I really want to, I'm not allowed to touch it. But those eyes, when they get in the wind, they spin around and look like crazy googly eyes. It's pretty funny. There's more Asian kites. Whoa, never seen one like that one either. It's like a priest pig. Now, these are traditional Chinese style kites. Now this is an interesting one. The 8 immortals at a birthday celebration. You got all these people just hanging around here on the kite. Then you got the master of ceremonies up here. I'm not sure what's going on here. Oh, it's a bird head. It's just broken. China is a big place, and over China there are different traditions in kites. So you might see different types of kites when you travel to different parts of the country. And these kites back here are from Yunnan, and these were a gift from the Ohio State University. I don't believe I've ever seen a shape quite like this on a kite. It's pretty small. Here's China, and right there is Yunnan. Now, if you're on Facebook groups of kites and so on, you might have seen some Indian kites or Balinese type of kites, and they are a trip. Let me tell you, I'm not even sure how they fly. I'm always seeing guys like make them, and it looks interesting. I'd love to try one, but this is what they look like. Some are big, some are small. They all seem to carry a load. Interesting shapes and designs. Now this week, right outside this building is the Washington State International Kite Festival. It looks a lot like this. In fact, this is it. Now, all around the world, kites are celebrated in different ways, of course. We know it here in the United States is what happens here at these festivals, but many places, it is a huge, huge party and a major part of the culture. I'd love to travel to some of these other places and find out what it's like. Here's a big one. A googly-eyed dragon devil. Like any museum, they have special exhibits, and this one is how the kite invented the airplane. It's the most unique museum visit. Okay, here we have some images of kites through history. Okay, older than flying itself. Some more images of older kites. Some information down here below. 2,000 years ago, kites were invented. First things that we made that could fly. Some could debate that information, but that's what it says. The Wright brothers. Could you imagine being there, trying that out? That would be mind-blowing if you were there present to see something like that you've never seen before. No one's ever seen someone fly before, and you were there for it. There's some kite flyers that wanted to make a giant kite that would carry somebody with a motor. How cool. I know I mentioned earlier about visiting Greenfield Village and Thomas Edison's shop, but right next to it was the Wright brothers shop where they invented the airplane, the actual shop. I'll put a link to that video right up above. Here we have the advancement of the flying age, new technology. Always higher. Let's talk about space. Some inventions from Francis Regallo. The World Kite Museum has rotating exhibits. It's not just this Wright brothers exhibit, but the next one will be about Ray Bethel. The famous Ray Bethel. I'm sure kites change, as the exhibits change in this museum. So don't just watch this video and assume that you've seen it. You definitely have to make your way out here to Long Beach, preferably during the Washington State International Kite Festival. Enjoy yourself with your friends and check this museum out. What a great place. Miniature kites. One thing I learned was that every single kite in the museum has been flown somewhere in the world, including these little tiny kites. You see this double box kite, Cody kite style. And look at this really tiny, I don't think I've ever seen one that small, by Charlie Sodich. And then we have another small kite from Robert Trepanier. Here's some Chinese kites, Japanese kites here too. I believe that this kite is from the Kite Museum in Weifang, China. Some other small kites here. The China chicken. I'd like to have the China chicken. I was gifted a few kites over the years, and a couple of those are from Charlie Sodich. They're very small American flag kites. Peacock kite. The museum's great. It's time to check out the gift shop. Here's the original artwork from the 2020 Whiskiff poster, and it is for sale. You can support the museum and kiting, $3,500, and take this with you. They have a lot of stuff in this gift shop.
I thought I asked you ladies. I apologize.
Unicorn kites. A lot of easy flyers for beginner kite flyers. Bird kites. Oh, here's a kite I've never seen in a kite shop, ever. In my experience, you've had to buy Indian fighter kites online, but here you can buy these traditional tissue paper bamboo kites in the store. I guarantee you will not find manja line here, though. Manja is the glass line that damages things, and people, they don't sell that in the United States. But they do sell cool tails, micro kites. They look like this. Kite line and books. Free stuff too. They have some American Kite Flyers Association magazines. If you join the American Kite Flyers Association, you might run across one of these old magazines and see a familiar face in there. You know? And the World Kite Museum sells their own swag. You can buy a jacket here for those windy days on the beach. You can also get mugs and stickers and magnets and patches, and looks like some other cool things here. You get a wind meter and DVD. I am definitely going to be getting some postcards while I'm here. In case you didn't know, friends, I send a postcard to every single person that subscribes to me on Patreon. Every month I will send you a postcard from one of my travels. It might be from this channel or from Dre's World, but you will get something from me with a handwritten note right on the back every single month if you're a $5 Patreon subscriber or higher. For you pin collectors in the kite world, there's some older pins here you can get your hands on.
How would you like them on card?
It's a good one from the AKA.
You want to go to
And speaking of pins, look at all the pins I just happened to see. I'm trying to do this without the reflection. There's so many pins here.
We're not going through them.
They even have some jewelry. Nice earrings.
We found these. Oh, that's too bad. No, we have our test. Thank you for your patience today.
No problem.
Bless you.
Friends, the World Kite Museum is really awesome. If you're in Long Beach for the festival or just traveling through for whatever reason, definitely make your way over here to the World Kite Museum. You won't regret it. It's a great place. You can learn a lot about kites. I learned things that I did not know here. It's really busy in there too. And you can pick up a kite and walk right down the street here to the beach. Try it out. Thanks for joining me today, friends. I really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video, and happy flying.